Welcome back, everyone. This is another scary camping story. Let's get into it. I grew up camping every summer. We would pack up our gear and head out to the woods for about a week at a time. It was just my dad, my older brother, and me. Both my parents are park rangers, so we got free camping anywhere in the state park system. We never went to the same campground twice. My dad always seemed to know some secluded place where he could be alone for a week. My mom was more of the outdoorsy type. She liked hiking and fishing, things like that. My dad, he liked being alone, reading books, just relaxing. Me, I was a scared little kid. I didn't like the dark. I didn't like being outside. But my dad said that if you don't learn to love the outdoors, you're gonna have a hard time becoming a man. So here I am. Anyways, one night my dad and brother were outside having a fire, and I was inside the tent. They had built up this really big fire and were telling scary stories to each other. Lightning started cracking outside and thunder boomed. That's when I heard it. There was a loud thud near the tent. I was freaked out sitting in the tent, but figured it was probably just a branch or something. Then I heard it again, another loud thud near the tent. And then I heard it one more time. Thud. Someone or something was walking around the tent. The next morning after, of course, I hadn't slept a wink. I unzipped the tent to the creepiest scene. Nothing was around the tent. There were no footprints in the dirt or grass. There was nothing. And I told my dad and brother what I had heard, but they just laughed at me. My brother said it was probably just a bear, and my dad said it was probably just the wind. He even said I probably imagined the whole thing, so we packed up and headed home. Now, I still think about that camping trip from time to time and how weird that noise was. I'm all grown up now, and I haven't been camping since. Last year, I decided I needed to face my fears and go camping again. I invited a bunch of friends, and we headed out to a state park about 2 hours away. The hike to our campsite was pretty long. There was barely a path, and we kept getting off trail and having to turn back around and find the markers. I ended up getting separated from the group, and I was freaking out. Called out for my friends and eventually found them. We finally made it to the campsite late in the evening, and it was pitch black. None of us had flashlights or headlamps, just our cell phone flashlights. We set up camp as best we could and called it a night. In the morning after, of course, not sleeping a wink, I got up early and went to use the bathroom behind some trees near our campsite. As I was doing my business, I heard a loud crack. Something had broken in the forest. I quickly ran back to the campsite and woke everyone up. They all looked at me crazy because I was freaking out. I told them something big just broke in the forest, and they all just laughed at me and went back to sleep. Well, about 30 minutes later, a friend Mark ran to us saying he had heard faint voices in the wilderness and said, "Guys, do one fuck around. This is unfunny." We gasped. We were inside our tents the whole time. In confusion, we said that was not us, seriously. He was freaking out, saying there was something watching us with obvious terror in his eyes. We all looked around the tent and saw the zipper opening in the nylon of his tent was opened, but he recalls closing it. My other friend, Chris, who is the most level-headed person I know, suggested we should pack up and get out of there. So we did. We left the campsite and headed back to the car. On the way to the car, I stopped to take a picture of the footsteps right outside the tent. It's the tent that is when I noticed the ground was disturbed around the tent, and there were lots of little pebbles that were now outside the circle of the tent. No one had stepped on them while setting up camp, so they weren't there the night before. Now, I knew something was out there watching us. As we walked to the car, I kept looking around, half expecting to see some sort of wild animal slink out from between the trees. We made it to the car without seeing anything. Then Chris, who's a total skeptic, decided to unzip his backpack and take out his phone, and that's when we heard it. There was a loud thud in the forest, like something heavy hitting the ground. We all froze and listened. All we could hear was the wind in the trees, but we knew what we had heard. Something or someone was out there watching us. We jumped in the car and slammed the doors. Chris put his phone back in his backpack, and we all started to calm down a bit. Then we started to laugh at how ridiculous the situation was. We were acting like a bunch of little kids, scared of nothing. That's when my friend Mark, who had gotten hurt in the middle of the night, looked pale as death and screamed, "There it is again." We all turned to look and saw a large man in the forest looking towards us. He was tall, like 7 feet tall. It was too human-like to be a bear. We all began to question what we were seeing and started to panic. Chris floored it, and we sped out of there, turning onto the main road. We had been on a one-way street the entire time, and there was no way out. But as we came to the end of the road, which had dead-ended into a parking lot, there was now a tree blocking the road where the road should have been. The forest had swallowed the road, and now we were trapped. We kept driving around in circles on the narrow road, but every time we came to the end of the road, the hole was still there. And every once in a while, we would see the man standing at the edge of the clearing, watching us drive around. After about an hour of driving around in circles, we stopped the car and got out. We were all anxious and on edge with terror. Then the forest started to get dark, and the shape in the trees became clearer. He or it was tall and skinny and hunching down as if it was hiding. We tried to run away, but the forest was dark, and we couldn't see where we were going. The entity kept getting closer. We could hear the entity screaming, getting louder and louder, and it was upon us. We were in a car with the engine running. Eventually, we found an alternative exit and hightailed it out the fuck out of there. The rest of the drive home, I sat in the front seat with my eyes closed, listening to the back of my friends in the back seat. When we finally got home, none of us ever spoke of that camping trip again. And I haven't been back to that part of the woods in over 20 years. I guess you'll never know what you'll come across that deep into the woods.